Your shift is over. Leave the room now. The hospital will not pay you for 1 more minute of overtime." Laura Bennett stood in the doorway as the elderly man in the bed suddenly grabbed Anna Morales by the wrist. "Please do not let me die alone," he whispered, struggling for breath. Laura looked only at the clock and the bed number, unaware that the way she treated him was about to become a mistake for the entire hospital. Anna gently placed her hand over his cold fingers. "I am still here. Try to relax." "You already completed your handoff," Laura said. "If you continue interfering after your shift, I will document a professional boundary violation." 3 hours earlier, an ambulance had brought the man to Harbor County Medical Center after he collapsed at a bus station during a cold, rainy night in Seattle. His coat was soaked, he had mild hypothermia, dehydration, and a heart rate that shifted between fast and slow. No identification could be found. His wallet might have been lost at the station. All that remained in his coat were a long-distance bus ticket, several certified mail receipts, a wrinkled envelope, and an old watch. Laura had suggested discharging him once his body temperature stabilized so the bed could be cleared. But when Anna helped him sit up, the monitor showed a clear change in his heart rhythm. He turned pale, clutched his chest, and nearly fainted again. Anna immediately notified Dr. Emily Chen. After examining him and reviewing the electrocardiogram, Dr. Chen ordered overnight observation, cautious intravenous fluids, and a cardiac evaluation. "This is not simply age-related confusion," Dr. Chen said. "If you had not noticed what happened when he changed position, we might have discharged him too soon." Laura folded her arms. "The department does not have enough staff to assign someone to sit with an unidentified patient." Anna completed the handoff to the on-duty nurse, documented every abnormal sign, and clocked out on time. She removed her employee badge from her uniform. "I will remain as a companion. I will not administer medication, perform procedures, or make treatment decisions. If anyone files a complaint, you will be responsible." Laura walked away. Anna watched the final bus pass along the wet street. Her worn shoes made her feet ache, but she said nothing to the patient. She only called her mother to say she would be home late and confirmed that their neighbor was still there to help. The debt from her mother's surgery remained in Anna's pocket, as a bill folded into quarters. She had considered leaving nursing for a higher-paying job. But the trembling hand on the blanket reminded her that her own father had died alone before she could reach him. Anna found a pair of reading glasses in the donation cabinet, dimmed the light, and pulled a chair close enough for him to see her without feeling surrounded. "Would you like me to read the address on the envelope so we can find a family member?" The man immediately pressed it against his chest. "Do not open it." "I will not open it without your permission." Her patience slowly allowed his shoulders to relax. After a long silence, he said his name was Samuel. Then he spoke in fragments about a son who was always too busy and letters that had never received an answer. "Marcus controls every door," he murmured. "He does not let the letters through." Anna looked at the certified mail receipts inside the clear property bag. Every letter had been sent, but none had received a reply. She did not ask what was inside the envelope. Instead, she requested permission to call the only place Samuel had clearly mentioned, Whitmore Health. Using the company's public telephone number, the call was transferred to Marcus Reed, Chief of Staff to the company's founder. Anna provided only the necessary information. An elderly patient who might be related to Daniel Whitmore was being treated in the emergency department. "This is a scam," Marcus answered coldly. "Mr. Whitmore does not have a father who needs to be found. The hospital should not call again." After ending the call, Marcus ordered an employee to mark the hospital's number as "Do Not Forward." It was his second opportunity to stop. Instead of checking the information, he closed another door. Near 4 a.m, Samuel suddenly struggled to breathe. He tried to sit up, reaching through the air in panic. Anna did not touch the medical equipment or attempt to treat him herself. She pressed the call button, raised the bed rail according to the existing instructions, and kept her voice steady. "Look at me, Samuel. Breathe in slowly. The medical team is coming." Dr. Chen and the on-duty nurse entered the room, checked his heart rhythm and oxygen saturation, and treated the abnormal rhythm. When his condition stabilized, Samuel still refused to release Anna's hand. "You may read it," he said, giving her the envelope. "Only the recipient's name." Under the bedside light, Anna read, "Daniel Whitmore." Samuel removed the old watch from his wrist. Engraved on the back were the words, "To Dad, from Daniel, 1998. Dr. Chen did not rely on the denial from a corporate office. She searched the Regional Medical Records Exchange. An older file appeared on the screen, Samuel Whitmore, 78 years old. The emergency contact listed Daniel Whitmore as his son, along with a private telephone number that did not pass through Marcus's office. Dr. Chen placed the call. Someone answered after the first ring. "This is Daniel Whitmore. Where's my father?" Anna looked at the envelope still resting in Samuel's hand. His fingers continued to tremble even though the immediate danger had passed. If Daniel had been waiting for news about his father, why had his office just claimed that Samuel did not exist? "Your father is stable, but he still needs cardiac monitoring," Dr. Chen said over the telephone. "He is at Harbor County Medical Center." Daniel Whitmore remained silent for several seconds, then immediately left his late-night meeting. As dawn began to break, a convoy of black vehicles stopped outside the hospital. The founder of Whitmore Health entered without demanding a private room, calling a private hospital, or requesting that his father be transferred. Daniel stopped at the doorway. Samuel was sleeping, his thin hand still holding Anna's as though it were the final thread connecting him to the world. Every meeting and public speech suddenly seemed insignificant beside the father Daniel had spent years trying to find. "Why did no one call me sooner?" Daniel asked. Dr. Chen handed him the communication log. "We called your office. The person who answered denied that you were related and told the hospital to stop contacting you." Samuel stirred awake. When he saw his son, he did not smile. "Did you read any of my letters?" Daniel moved closer but stopped at the edge of the bed. "I never received them." Samuel turned toward Anna. "Give him the envelope, but he must read it here." Anna confirmed Samuel's permission again, then handed the letter to Daniel. Samuel apologized for years of stubbornness and the cruel words he had spoken after his wife died. The second half of the letter listed 3 facilities funded by the Whitmore Foundation, where employees, medication, and food were in dangerously short supply. Daniel had not finished reading when Marcus Reed entered the room. "Samuel is confused," Marcus said. "This document could cause serious damage. Give it to the legal department." Anna did not argue about the foundation or the financial figures. Samuel was alert when he authorized me to transfer the letter. I confirmed his permission before handing it over. Dr. Chen added that she had evaluated Samuel and documented that he had the ability to provide informed consent at that time. Marcus looked at Daniel. "I was only trying to protect you from an unverified accusation." Daniel folded the letter and kept it on the table in front of his father. "No one has accused you of anything yet, but from this moment forward, every letter and record must be preserved. I am ordering an independent audit, and all editing access to Foundation records will be suspended until the review is complete." That was Marcus's third opportunity to cooperate. Instead, immediately after leaving the room, he sent a message to a technology employee ordering a cleanup of old correspondence in the system he controlled. Because the deletion request came after the preservation order, the compliance system automatically issued an alert. The files did not disappear. They were isolated inside a recovery area, along with the name of the account that had ordered their removal. While Daniel called the audit team, Laura handed Anna a disciplinary notice in front of the nurses who had just started their shift. "You remained after work without authorization and created a liability risk for the hospital." Anna looked at the paper, then at her silent colleagues. "I clocked out, completed my handoff, and performed no medical procedures. I stayed because the department had no safe plan for an elderly patient who was terrified and alone. You may explain yourself later. The current decision remains in effect." Daniel witnessed the exchange. After Laura walked away, he took out his checkbook. "You stayed beside my father all night. Please allow me to pay for your time and everything you lost." Anna closed the checkbook. "If you want to help repair the system that forced an elderly patient to beg someone not to leave him alone, I do not need a reward for doing what was right." She proposed 3 changes. Hospitals should verify identities quickly through regional systems, contact relatives through several channels instead of relying on one office, and provide trained companions for elderly patients at risk of panic. Dr. Chen looked at Daniel. "I submitted a nearly identical proposal before. It never reached the hospital board." Laura stood at the end of the hallway, her expression becoming rigid. Daniel did not defend himself. "I have donated millions of dollars to elderly care, but I trusted reports without personally examining the quality of that care. That is also my responsibility." By noon, the audit team was working in a conference room beside the emergency department. Daniel signed only the preservation orders and granted access to outside auditors. Inside the recovery area, they found 11 letters from Samuel that had been scanned into a restricted folder controlled by Marcus. Every file carried the same instruction: "Do not forward to Daniel. Sender has demonstrated hostile behavior." The records showed that Samuel's previous telephone calls had all been transferred to the same extension and ended in less than 1 minute. Foundation data also revealed that grants to the 3 facilities had been divided into smaller amounts so they remained below the threshold requiring board approval. A recurring consulting fee appeared in all 3 files. The company receiving the money was registered at an address connected to one of Marcus's relatives. Daniel looked through the glass toward his father. For years, he had believed Samuel refused reconciliation. Samuel believed his son had read the letters and chosen silence. Pride was not the only thing standing between them. Someone had turned their separation into a curtain hiding the flow of money. The auditor opened the oldest file. A scanned copy of the first letter Samuel had sent 8 months earlier appeared on the screen. The access history showed that Marcus had opened it only 2 hours after it arrived. He had read every word Samuel had written to his son. But how many elderly people had paid the price so those letters would never reach Daniel? 1 week later, the boards of the Whitmore Foundation and Harbor County Medical Center met with auditors, doctors, care workers, and family representatives. Marcus Reed sat across from Daniel. "I was only protecting you from a father with a history of conflict. He used his health to pressure you." Samuel appeared by video from the recovery unit, alert and wearing a gray sweater. "I came to Seattle to see my son. My letters apologized to Daniel and warned him about 3 facilities that were mistreating elderly residents. Marcus had no right to decide what my son was allowed to know." Daniel stood. "I gave Marcus control over family communication and far too much authority. I trusted reports without verifying them. Being deceived does not erase my responsibility for creating this system." Samuel remained silent for a moment. "I also cut off contact when I was angry. My pride created the empty space that allowed someone else to stand between us." Samuel's 11 certified mail receipts matched the dates of 11 scanned letters inside Marcus's restricted folder. Telephone records showed that calls from Samuel and the hospital had all been directed to Marcus's extension. The data preservation alert showed that only minutes after the audit was ordered, Marcus's account attempted to delete the letters. The system automatically preserved the files. The financial report showed that grants had been divided into smaller amounts to remain below the approval threshold. It also revealed inflated invoices and consulting fees sent to a company connected to Marcus's family. Dr. Chen confirmed that Samuel had been mentally capable of giving permission when he handed over the letter. Anna described only when she received the envelope, how she obtained consent, and who held it afterward. She did not speculate about anyone's motives. A former manager from one of the facilities testified that she had been pressured to confirm adequate staffing even when many shifts were empty. Residents had been forced to wait for medication and sometimes missed meals. The board chair asked Marcus one final question. "How do you explain the money and the deletion order?" "Administrative mistakes," Marcus answered. "There's no evidence that I intended to harm anyone." When the same mistake happens 11 times, blocks a hospital, and conceals a flow of money, it is no longer an oversight. The board suspended Marcus during the meeting, revoked his access, and sealed his devices. The records were transferred to investigators and the state attorney general. Marcus was later dismissed and faced legal responsibility for fraud, obstructing an audit, and attempting to destroy data. Funding for the 3 facilities was frozen, but the residents were not abandoned. An emergency oversight team of geriatric specialists, pharmacists, and family representatives was sent to maintain medication, meals, and staffing. Daniel voluntarily surrendered his power to control the foundation alone. A new board of geriatric specialists, family representatives, and independent auditors received authority to approve grants. The hospital withdrew Anna's disciplinary action because the old procedures had provided no safe plan for elderly patients without relatives. Laura was not made a scapegoat, but she lost the authority to remove companions by herself. She was required to complete patient-centered care training and undergo regular evaluations. Dr. Chen led a new trial program in the emergency department. The coordinator position was publicly advertised. Anna was selected because of her clinical ability, her judgment on the night Samuel arrived, and the 3-step proposal she had presented. The new position gave her appropriate pay and support to complete a certification in geriatric nursing. It was not a gift from a billionaire. It was recognition of an ability that had previously been overlooked. The program provided trained companions rapid identity verification and family contact through several channels so that one assistant could never close every door. Elderly patients were no longer treated as beds that needed to be emptied. Samuel and Daniel began family therapy. They could not erase the years of pain, but they agreed to meet every week and never use an assistant to communicate private matters. During their first meeting in the recovery garden, Daniel returned the watch after having it cleaned. "I am sorry that I did not search for the answers myself." Samuel looked at the engraving on the back. He did not say that everything had been forgiven. He simply moved to one side of the bench. "Sit down, Daniel." For the first time, father and son began talking without Marcus standing between them. When Anna returned to the department, she wore new shoes purchased with her first paycheck from the new position. She still lowered herself to a patient's eye level and asked permission before touching personal belongings. But she was no longer trying to fill the failures of the system by herself. Beside the next bed, a trained companion had already been assigned. Kindness no longer depended on someone agreeing to remain without pay. Anna had not known that the hand she held through the night belonged to the father of a billionaire. She knew only that it belonged to someone who was afraid. True kindness appears before we know whether another person is wealthy or poor, powerful or unknown. But personal kindness cannot permanently replace the responsibilities of families and institutions. Love creates an opportunity for reconciliation. Hope helps people begin again. Justice forces power to accept examination. What would you have done in Anna's place? Would you have stayed beside Samuel even if you knew you might be disciplined and lose the job helping your family survive? Share your thoughts and subscribe to Stewart Stories to continue following stories of love, hope, and justice.